on the movie side of things, do you have an idea for how many figures might be coming out to people this next year, or what's planned for this next year, a general number?
There's still a few. There's still some things that we want to do with the movie figures. Without going into specifics, there's like more than one movie figure. I'll say that. We know there's Kino, and then there's maybe a few other surprises that we haven't said anything or announced yet. So
Okay, all right. Perhaps in a VHS style of some sort. Eh?
oh, that could be, or could be something else. Some of them might be sitting on my my desk right now.
Is that there's so many different variants of the primary characters too, where something like that could, like not Barney, because it's not Barney, but it's but the other Baxter Stockman headlet that's coming in
Yeah.
this set, for instance, but also Barney.
Yeah, well, like Barney should have his own figure, because you'd want him standing there next to either, we have two Baxters now. We have his, the fly version, regular human Baxter. It'd be good to just get a proper Barney that you could put next to. That's another one that a lot of people are asking for, like, oh, I hope you guys are going to make a Barney Stockman. And it's like, wow. Like, that's cool. That's exciting to me because I want a Barney Stockman figure too. And it's such an easy repaint to do, that it's just like, oh wow, for sure we should find a way to do Barney Stockman. Yeah, that'd be super cool.
How far down the variant rabbit hole might we see with the line? For instance, we were talking last time about the myriad of different shredders there were, where there's fisherman shredder and there's like hot dog vendor shredder, right? And
well, I hope we can make all of those. Train conductor shredder, and the hot dog one is hilarious. Like the fisherman is super cool and just ridiculous. So yeah, I hope we can do lots of those. Even when he gets zapped with that like 50-foot Irma thing, and then he's sort of like, his mutation's kind of weird because all of a sudden he's got like super long arms and like a little head, and then eventually it all kind of evens out. So even like stuff like that would be cool to make, but we probably won't. Bebop and Rocksteady have lots of different looks. It all comes down to like just finding a place for them in the year. Like, you can't make everything all at once, so it's just like, how do we plan and stagger these characters out? You get so many of them, and then it's like, oh man, we've already the year is full. So then something like Train Conductor Shredder might have to get kicked back to 2024, or it's like, are we still going to be making these things in 2025? It's just so crazy. Or 26, like, hopefully we are, because we got to make Train Conductor Shredder and like all the crazy turtle disguises and Bebop and Rocksteady, and we got to make Barney. So
just to confirm, Train Conductor Shredder 2024 is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, all aboard.
Oh man, there's so many fun ones. I mean, right, and we were saying before too, like, there's human Michelangelo, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
There's these very unique kind of iterations. April as the princess.
Oh yeah. She's like mistaken for the princess of Malacaria or some place, some weird place like that.
And it really, I mean, it looks exactly like her with just like flatter hair,
Yeah.
Speaking of important variants though, like, and that might mix in with some of the oversized, right? So we saw like those larger, of the turtles. Could we see potentially some logical versions of other characters that would fit there too? Like, for instance, Irma. There's the Attack of the 50-foot Irma. That might make entire sense for that to be a larger character.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Could that expand out at some point potentially?
It potentially could. It's like, can I convince Randy we need to make like a 20-inch or like a quarter scale Irma, basically? Like, can I convince Randy that we need to do that? Those are things that, like, I can't let the line end before we make a 50-foot Irma. There's a few characters that like that would work for, or like it would be super cool, but that's a big commitment, tooling and everything else in production. So yeah, that would be cool. That'd be really cool.
Oh yeah.
So who knows?
Do you have like a top couple of the larger size that are just like in the back of your head that you still want to tackle too? Like thinking like those robot turtles, for instance, that show up.
Oh, like from the
Turtleoids,
Planet of the Turtleoids or something, like the Ground Chuck and Dirtbag episode, right?
There's cyborg characters in there too, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, Dread's he's cool, that Captain Dread guy. He would be a big oversized character if we were going to do him. That's a really good example of like, you kind of show that to people and they go, oh yeah, that makes that, like, he's an action figure. Just
right.
you know.
But yet he wasn't an action figure, which is
Yeah,
so
and he wasn't. It's baffling sometimes. Or how they miss that?
right.
You know, he's got that like flame sort of like that wide blade like lightsaber thing, and
he
yeah.
was Rio Blast, right?
Oh well, Rio Blast had he was
Yeah,
like he had all the flip out like
yeah,
guns and stuff on his yeah.
this guy had the pincers that would come out and like, it's like it was just
Yeah.
so much like made for a toy, and the idea that it wasn't is ah ah.
Yeah, I know. He's one of those ones that's like Dirk Savage was the same way. He's
Mhm.
smaller, but it was like he's more like regular human size, but he's super cool, kind of undeniably like, oh, we have to he's like a mutant bounty hunter. It's like
Yeah.
we gotta make him. And then you're like, well, now we've made him to be, lots of people want AJ Howard too to go. Like it's just it never ends, right? Like because you get one and then you want like a couple more characters to like go with them. So it's like as a collector, it's cool. And then AJ Howard's like got that cool, like he can pull off his face and he's like a slug mutant. It's just like there's so many characters to do.
Well,
How do we
right.
get it all done?
And you look at that episode too, and there's so many like one-off
Oh,
mutants that were in that
don't
episode.
even get me started on all those background mutants, man. There's like the chicken thing and the mailman llama, or like he's like a giraffe. There's like that buffalo guy, or there is so much going on in that Dirk Savage episode. It is awesome, but I want to make all those guys.
Well, I think that was why it was probably one of my favorites when I was a kid too, was that it was just like there's so many crossover characters there, right? You
Yeah. Well, there's Punk Frogs and Mondo Gecko shows up and
right.
Token Razar are in it. Yeah, it's awesome. That's one of the best episodes.
I want to say with the regular Last Ronin too. First of all, those have been phenomenal. That the Ben Bishop style is captured to a T with those, and it's just like
Oh,
so freaking fun. How expansive can that be? Could that expand into the Lost Years stuff as well? And could we theoretically see, without being spoilery here, but it kind of has to be, some of those ethereal characters that are iconic from the first.
oh yeah. At this point, is that even a spoiler? I mean, come on.
I realize it shouldn't be, but I like
Yeah.
this is the way that I found it out. I'd be like, oh, getting geeky.
Yeah, well, skip ahead to this
Yeah.
time code. It's in every version of Turtles, planning out a line, there's 4 spots taken up immediately because you have all 4 turtles, right? So that's, if you're only doing like 5 or 6 or maybe 7 characters in a year, turtles eat up a lot of that. But yeah, when you're doing those 3 Ghost Brothers, like that's kind of a no-brainer thing, and you can sort of inject them in, clear plastic or have kind of fun, weird. You can play with the paint and make them ghostly, or you can make them glow in the dark, maybe. There's a lot of different options for doing stuff like that.
Takahashi style, right? With the
Yes. So yeah, so those are cool. We were looking through the Ronin books, and we were kind of working on them as the issues were coming out. So then every issue was just like, oh wow, and this and then this thing happens, and then like that. And so that line plan kind of evolved or changed as like, we really didn't get a whole lot of advance notice on stuff. I hope we can do Lost Years. I think they're working on it now. We don't have like advanced copies of those books or the pages or anything like that. So hopefully we get to do some Lost Years stuff too. It seems like kind of a natural progression. Like we'll do so many Ronin figures, and then maybe we can jump into that if it all makes sense. Yeah, hopefully all that stuff continues for us. Seems to be super popular.
We talked, I think, last time about the 2012 series, and you were letting me know some of the characters that are favorites from that iteration. Did you have any favorites from like the 2003 or the 2007 that stick out to you as characters that were just your the top of your list?
Yeah, like Shredder's super cool in like 2003. I loved all the Triceraton like story arc in that show. All that Triceraton stuff could be awesome to do from 2003. There's really a lot of great stuff on that show. That would be cool. At the beginning of the 2007 movie, when like Leo's got the cloak and he's like coming back on the landing gear from the plane, he went off on his little spiritual quest. That Leo would be super cool, kind of fun to do. And then I guess what's Raph's little like the Night Watcher or something?
Yeah.
Because he had like all the like armor pieces and stuff. That could be kind of fun too. And that Splinter's cool too. That version of Splinter would be fun. And then Becker Hive could be kind of cool too.
The Cloak Leo that you were talking about reminded me a little bit of like City Fall Leo, just in kind of the aesthetic there. Not
Yeah.
not entirely, but I mean, it's because like 2012 kind of did that too with the Vision Quest stuff that they did, right? Where it was
Oh
like,
yeah.
I don't know if they called it Mystic or whatever they called it, but it was like, he was in that kind of very ethereal kind of look that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing with 2003 to me is that it's like it encompass so much of the Mirage in animated style,
Mhm.
So it's like, so much of the Mirage stories, you have, Dr. Shreddarius and right? I mean, you have Dr.
Yeah,
Dome.
the one that sticks out to me is like there's those sea creatures that they met, like there's that one from Tales of the TMNT or something, like from those books.
Hmm.
There's like that, just that one story. I think it was like an environmental thing, like that lake was being polluted or something. You remember that one?
The one
Yeah,
story that they talked to the environment.
yeah,
There's
yeah, right.
a
Yeah.
lot of environment stuff. Yeah.
And I love each season kind of had the overarching thing. Like I remember like Mikey was that Battle Nexus champion of the universe. There's the 2003 show. There's a lot of cool stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, with the Battle Nexus Arena, is that what you're talking about? Where it's
I
like
think yeah, because he ended up winning the entire tournament, right?
And I
And
mean,
then
there's so many cool like aliens in that too, right? Including Triceraton. Where you had the All Stars, the equivalent of Triceraton All Stars there too. So it's just like,
yeah,
I remember there's the same story though. I remember the All Star Triceratons were there, but I don't think
I
they didn't.
think yeah, didn't they come back or was that was in a different season when they like with the invasion and with Zog and everything? That was like I think that was like a different story, maybe.
I know that like they only like name dropped one of them, I think. Where in
Yeah.
the comic they all had names. They were all
Yeah, because there was like Traximus. Wasn't he like their big champion or something?
I think there's
I knew all the like a couple years ago. I had all those Triceratons memorized because there was.
Did you ever see the concept character they were going to introduce? That was the Tri Shreddertron, I think is what they called them. But
No,
basically,
I don't think so.
it was an Utrom, right? It was Carell, right? I think it was like Carell taking the body of a Triceraton, and it
Okay.
was like, oh my gosh, it was so cool. And it was like basically it was
Whoa.
like if you remember in the Archie where they had Krang had the head of Shredder, right?
Yeah.
Here it was Corral wrapped around the face of Triceraton, and it was just like,
Oh wow,
how did this not
that's
get
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
See, that sounds like we should make a figure of that. That's really cool.
right.
It's more what if figures.
Oh my gosh, see that's the thing. It's like that would look that cohesive style, right? There's so much that can be fun done in that style that's just like,
Yeah.
the world's your oyster here,
Yeah. Yeah.
or your many worlds are your oyster, I should say.
Yeah, luckily now it's all a big multiverse. We
Mhm.
can and the Turtles, I mean, even with Turtles Forever, they were kind of one of the first to do that big Turtle Prime, with
That
all
I mean,
those worlds coming together.
and pan-dimensional nexus, I think is what it was, or
Yeah.
something like that. But that was in the comic too. So that was like that's what I always like to look back on whenever I'm having conversations with people who are like, oh, the multiverse from Marvel or whatever. Now it's
Yeah.
the thing is like, Turtles were doing that way before,
Way before.
not to say Marvel wasn't also doing it for a long time, or DC wasn't doing it for a long time. They were too, but
Yeah, but no, but when that stuff was going on in like TV and it seemed, having that Turtles Forever movie that they did where it was like the black and white comic, the Fred Wolf cartoon, like everybody sort of, mixing together. They had like little clips of like Mikey from the movie, I think in that one it's like when in Next Gen when like all the Wharfs showed up and there was like 6 billion wharfs. Like they had that same scene in like Turtles Forever, or just like a million different
yeah,
turtles all converging on the same point.
it was
So
delicious is what it was. It was like
yeah.
it's just so much fun. And there's like, there's a scene in particular where it's like they're spinning around and you're seeing every single iteration. You're seeing the Archie,
Yeah.
you're seeing Mirage, you're seeing everything there, including like Bisley's body count. Right, I think that was
Yeah, I mean I'm sure that was in there too, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
speaking of, by the way,
Yes.
well, I mean, it seems a natural to talk about, the different creator versions, right? Because we saw the Lawson
Mhm.
Turtles at Comic-Con. When we expand to other creator designs, is it just going to be the turtles, or is there going to be kind of expansion of those worlds also?
Yeah, it's whatever makes sense, you know, if it makes a cool toy and it just however it all comes together. Yeah, it doesn't just have to be turtles, it could be KC or whoever. Yeah, anything's really possible. I think that's what I've learned over the years at NECA is like if it's a good idea and it's gonna make a really kick-ass looking toy, Randy thinks it's worth pursuing, and we will, you know, if it's a separate license or there's, you know, some other deal that needs to be made, it's like he'll get out there and try and get it done.
Has there been any that are just like an outright no freaking way kind of thing? Only if you can tell me, I guess. But it's like, is there a character that you've really wanted to do that you got that there's been like pushback that was like probably unlikely if we're going to be able to do this?
There is like one item that I kept wanting to make. It's not a figure, but it's just like, you know, if we would make like a t-shirt or like a keychain or like other product, there is this one thing that I wanted to make that like, it seemed like no matter what I tried, every time I'd reintroduce it, it just, for whatever reason, something would happen that eventually would just never see the light of day. And it was just like this bag. Just this really, it's not even like it's not expensive, it's not like impossible to produce, it doesn't have like any sort of like weird questionable do we have the rights to this artwork, or it was just this Foot Clan bag that I wanted to make. And I think there were 3 different times where it was on the schedule. Now I just want to make it because it's like that one thing that just, for whatever reason, it just refuses to. I can't think of if there's anything else really that like they haven't let me do. Like Randy's super cool, letting me pretty much make whatever I want. And then Nickelodeon is like super cool with like, we present all this stuff and they're like, who is this character? And I go, oh, it's, you know, so and so. And then they're in this episode or they were in this issue of whatever. And then they're like, oh, cool. Okay, you know, like most of the time everything goes good, and then, you know, movie stuff, it's always, do you have the likeness rights to this actor? And then we go and get them and they're like, okay, great, then you can make this. So okay, now I remember something that they really did not let me do was like when we made that trench coat Raphael. I think the first one was the big quarter scale movie Raph, and I made the newspaper prop to go with them. And there's like the original newspaper, I think it had like 4 like front and back pages of like newspaper articles. And every single article in there, I had spent days just writing, typing up like all kinds of like, everything was like a reference, just like an Easter egg or a reference to Ninja Turtles, or just something that like my friends and I, or like the guys at work would think were funny. But I made everything just look like a legit newspaper. And they're like fake movies and the entertainment section, and everything was like Aced Up, the movie, and like, you know, just like it was just all like in-world stuff. And Nickelodeon was like, absolutely not, like you can't. And I think the final newspaper, it's just a front and back one-sided thing, and the inside pages are like completely blurred out, so you can't see anything. But it was just, I didn't type out every paragraph. All that was kind of just blurry, like fuzzy stuff. But each headline for every article was like talking about something turtle related. Or that's one thing that like Nickelodeon would let me do, is that newspaper.
Do you think that was because it was like within the movie world of it though? Like if you had,
I don't know. I think it just looked too real, and they were just like, "What the heck is this?" They,
that would have been fun.
and I was like, I swear, I said, "There's nothing in here that's like, I don't think there's anything in here that's bad." But they were just like, "Can't." And I stayed up way too late, maybe pulled like an all-nighter, just trying to get it all done and make it look old, and like scanning stuff in and printing it at like low res, and then rescanning it and adding little crumples and little like shifted. There's like an article vaguely talking about the Rat King and like subterranean. It was, I went off on like this crazy tangent for like 3 or 4 days, like designing this newspaper, and then Nickelodeon was just like, no, like this is the biggest waste of time ever. But
that would be fun to get as a, you know, how like we got the oven mitts, or we got the, you know, it'd be fun to get like a prop replica of the newspaper from the movie at some point too, that you could, maybe, I don't know. they might still say nope.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would be a cool thing because they have like I remember going to like Universal in Florida like years and years ago, and you could buy like a Daily Bugle of like Spider-Man. They had like two or three of them, like prop newspapers, and one of them looked like a picture Peter Parker would have taken. It was kind of this blurry thing, like Spider-Man was kind of like just caught like web swinging through the city. You know, it was almost like a blurry Bigfoot photo, or maybe it was more like Eddie Brock took the photo. It was like a crappy picture of him. That was a really cool prop. Yeah, that would be cool to make like a Ninja Turtle a movie one.
Yeah, well, like right to replicate the Splinter scene, right?
Ninja Rap is born.
And speaking of Ninja Rap, you were saying with the licensing, I know one of the characters I keep hearing folks asking about is Vanilla Ice. Is that one that is, getting closer to possible, or is that still?
No, it's. I mean, it's not close to. We'd reached out to him a couple different times, and we couldn't work out an agreement. So we just kind of left it at that. We wanted to make a figure.
And he said
it didn't seem like it was going to happen. And then we haven't gone back to try again for a while. A Vanilla Ice figure would be awesome. I'd love to do that. That would be a great like Comic-Con exclusive or something, It would just be a great figure to make. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem likely, not anytime soon.
Well, that's a bummer. But there's still so many fun ones there, especially with the live action. There's so much that it kind of like gave you a little tease for, but didn't, like in part 3 with the Time Scepter, right? I feel like they were setting us up to seeing Renette. Maybe we would have seen the Fugitoid at some point too.
Yeah, oh, that would be so cool.
But it ended too untimely, right? With 3, because when you saw, I don't know if you've read about what part 4 was going to be. I mean, it was all scripted out, and they had, there's concept images and everything else with it. Yeah. But it looked neat, right? It looked very, very 80s.
Yeah.
But some of those characters, it kind of was like a little telling as to, and we got some of that in the Fred Wolf, in the Red Sky years too, kind of fed into that with like the Second Mutation Turtles, right? But it would have been really interesting to see where that all would have gone with the live action and had it continued.
I agree. that whole concept of like the mutation wasn't over and they're going to get bigger, weirder, more monstery, like all that's all cool stuff. So,
and I guess I'd say too that it followed a little bit in the Mirage stuff also. There was almost like a dinosaur like Raph towards the end of the Tales of TMNT, or the tiny Don, where Don became like minuscule.
I don't remember Tiny Don.
It was the same time in those later issues where it was like very dinosaur looking, almost Leatherhead looking Raph, right? It was Lost Art, and there was a tiny Donatello who created a giant sized, how the mechanics of this worked, I have no idea, but it was like he created a giant sized new like a cyborg version of himself that was his like exterior to make it give the appearance that he was still the same size. But you open it up and it's like this little tiny Don.
Oh, I gotta go check those out. I don't remember that. That sounds cool. There's like that cyborg Don too, but that was like in the
Urban Legend stuff.
It was like like in Image Comics, right?
Yeah,
that's different.
That's different. Yeah, I mean, and there's some really fun ones out of the Urban Legend stuff, right? Like Shredder Raph. Are those considered an extension wing? Are those still like on the table, or are those like its own thing?
Oh, they should be considered because it's all cool.
Right.
So
right. Yeah. But I mean, like the scope of Mirage, and it kind of to me is like there's a lot that holds hands with other things, right? Like, and especially it's like, okay, this was part of it was Image, but then it wrapped into IDW, and there's IDW that you're doing Last Ronin, it's all becomes like, is this available to do? But there were some really, really neat ones there, and it's like, could we potentially get Savage Dragon in that world from there, because they're in that too?
Maybe. I think we probably need to do a separate deal or some sort of collaboration. Yeah, that could be real cool.
Who, I guess, tops your list of characters that you are still really excited to see get out there from the world of Mirage? I know Triceratons are your biggies, but are there others that are cool? Oh yeah, I mean, there's still so many of the Triceraton world to get out there too. But
there's more.
Like of primaries, there's still quite a few primaries to tackle there too.
Yeah, no, there are other ones that like I want that are on a list, like a top 3, and those we're probably working on those right now, or maybe they're already done and they'll be announced next year sometime. For sure, there's definitely more. And then like it's been so much fun to work on, like going back to what we said about some of the other like cartoon characters. It's just a couple of years ago, it just didn't seem like possible we were going to be making some of these guys, like a big, massive Zog or the Shredder clones. Like it just didn't seem like that was ever going to be an option. And like doing even just like the Utrom, like the robot Utrom bodies, that was another one that I wanted to make for a long, long time. And it's cool. Like we finally got to figure that guy. Splinter is coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And we packed him with like a mouser and a little Utrom brain. And like he's got 4 little baby pre-mutated pet turtles. That Splinter figure is super cool. That's another one that wasn't quite sure if we were ever going to get. And he's tiny, you know, like he's cool because he's like
To scale, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
he's to scale with the other figures. So it's like, so we kind of loaded them up with accessories to make them kind of like what we do with like creature packs for, you know, like aliens or like some of the other like NECA lines. There's a lot of cool stuff we've done so far, and there's still I don't want to spoil or, you know, announce anything just yet. There's a couple that are probably, they should be kind of obvious. And then it's like, oh yeah, cool. They're making those people.
there's the specific appearances of some of them too that might look different depending on where you're reading about them in the series, right? So like
Yeah.
someone like Leatherhead, he has different looks to him. So
Yeah.
and I imagine that would probably be one that would be an oversized too when we get that.
If we were gonna make a like a Mirage Leatherhead, he would be big. Yeah, he'd be. I mean, I have Zog. Here's Zog, right?
Oh yeah, and it's just like that
And
felt
here's
less,
like here's a Shredder clone guy. Like Leatherhead would I mean, if we were gonna make a Leatherhead, I would guess he was gonna be.
about the size of the Triceratops.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. He's got an articulated mouth,
Whoa.
and even the tongue has articulation, so you can get him
Fantastic.
screaming. And he's got a tail. I took the tail off, but he's got a tail. And then he's got these little grenades that like clip onto his little shoulder strap thing.
Nice.
But yeah, he's super cool.
That's fantastic. The thing with Mirage is that there's so many different team ups, you know, and crossovers that they had. I mean, are some of those potentially on the table? It's kind of like with Usagi, where probably, yes, it's just about maybe an extra hoop there. But I'm thinking of some characters that were in quite a few of the issues, right? So you have like Flaming Carrot, or you have Gizmo and Fluffy. There's a lot of different characters there that, you know, it's like the expanded world. And I don't know where that ends. What's possible, what's not possible.
Yeah, I'm not too sure where it ends either. I guess we're kind of approaching it a little bit like the early days of the cartoon line, where we're gonna make some obvious stuff that's like, we know people are gonna want these, or these things will sell. You know, we'll make like Triceratops, will make Casey and, you know, Splinter and stuff. And then yeah, we'll try to sneak in some lesser known characters or some fan favorite ones, some obscure figures, see how that goes. And we'll just keep, if everything keeps selling, then yeah, it is possible we could get to some of those really oddball. Yeah, there's tons of weird stuff in Mirage that could be cool. Like if there's stuff like Flaming Carrot and stuff that includes like another partnership or another, you know, like a creator owned thing, you know, it's possible. Then it just means we have to like get a deal worked out with the creators or whoever owns the IP, you know, because not everything is
right, still with the creator.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's like the extension of Mirage there too is like Palladium, right? So, I mean, are any of those characters possible? I mean, because some of those characters came back into the mix in IDW in a way, right? So we had Porcupine character, you know, that was in the Palladium is now there too.
That always helps. Like anytime there's like some really obscure thing that gets made somewhere else, if a character has like a couple different appearances in different places, it certainly helps with like convincing Nickelodeon that, you know, this is worth doing. It's always good if someone else sort of crosses that bridge first.
Now, as a part of our show, we ask you, the viewers, what your questions are for NECA and Trevor in a special segment that we like to call. If you remember the old comics, that was
that was at the end.
It was Turtle Tracks. So for here, Turtle Tracks. This is a question from our subscriber, Yoshi. Do you have any plans to re-release the City Street diorama sets, especially now that you've confirmed that they attach to the top of the sewer layer sets that are coming out?
Yeah, the streets are gonna have another release, a re-release, or yeah, there's gonna be more streets.
Nice. Another question from our subscriber Yoshi, wondering if they have any plans to continue the Turtles in timeline. We're still missing quite a few characters in that style, like Super Shredder, Rat King, Metalhead, Tokan Razar, and I'd really love a Foot Soldier pack like the recent TLS Walmart exclusive one with the white, blue, pink, orange soldiers. I'd absolutely love some Turtles in Time diorama sets as well.
The Turtles in Time stuff, it hasn't completely gone away. It's just priorities have sort of shifted a bit. Token Razar, I did want to make those for quite a while. I still want to make them. We haven't made them yet. There was like a Human Baxter. Was he in that one too? Or is that one of the other games? He's like flying around in that little...
Yeah. He's in like in his pod, right?
In that pod thing. Yeah, there's still a bunch of cool Turtles in Time stuff that we need to do. So hopefully we can get back to it at some point.
Cement Man's in there too. Just saying.
Yes, that's true.
This is a question from our subscriber, David Stinson. Any chance we might get figures based on the Dark Turtles from the 2003 cartoon or the Teenage Mecha Ninja Turtles from the Nickelodeon summer shorts?
No plans for those.
I will interject a slide whistle for you, David Stinson, and for myself, because the Dark Turtles would be awesome. Will we see a Carter anytime soon?
Not anytime soon. Maybe after Tempestra or something.
This is a question from our subscriber Tortugas Ninja 2K3. Any chance to make figures based on the 90s Addams Family movies?
Cool. Oh man, that would be awesome to do like Addams Family movie.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. I do not know of any plans, but I have no idea. But I agree that would be cool.
This is a question from Tupayas, who's a subscriber. Will NECA make any of the main characters evergreen for new collectors to the line? I'm starting to collect. However, I can't seem to find Shredder, Bebop, Rocksteady, Krang, Foot Soldiers, the Four Turtles, Splinter, and April anywhere.
Like they're not evergreen. We do re-release that stuff, once or twice a year. So yes, we do know that there's still people like just finding the line now and like they missed out on figures from a few years ago. So yeah, we do try to every now and then restock or resupply or like, make those figures available again. Vague kind of general yes.
Question from Mr. Mix. I'm not going to be able to say this right. Mr. McPicklick 5.
Oh, okay.
Now, if I can say his name backwards is the question on Instagram. Next Mutation or 2003 Turtles figures, please. Also, any possibility of a re-release on Turtles and Time Turtles or a single of the Toon Turtles?
No plans for Next Mutation or 2003. Turtles in Time, yeah, they would be cool to get back to them. They're not totally dead. It's just on hold. And single Toon Turtles would be cool.
With the Next Mutation or 2003, are those something that might be candidates for some of the what if stuff that you're doing, for instance? Like
sure.
Like I think of Venus as a potential there, right?
That's a great example of like maybe that's how there's a Venus figure. Like it's more likely she would be a kind of a Fred Wolf style cartoon figure than doing a whole Next Mutation series or something.
And there was other characters in there too that really kind of almost felt like they should be Fred Wolf to begin with, like Silver as an example, right? That's a character that just like feels like it would have been a cartoon,
Who's that? Is that the
that was like the Yeti, the Dayglow suit mob Yeti.
I'll look him up. He might go on the list later tonight.
Oh, you're gonna love him. I'll send you some pictures. It's a fun character.
Okay.
Queeze too. It's like, yeah. But I'm getting off topic a little bit in a good way. But next question is from a subscriber, Rob 45. With Mirage still going strong and Archie, and IDW comic is now part of NECA, could we get Venus, Jenica, Kirby, and the mutant version of April and Casey Jones' daughters? And I think they're meaning Shadow Jones here. Are those on the table?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not 100% sure about like, regular IDW comic stuff. It's not a flat out no. It's a definite maybe.
Well, I guess the question I have here too is like, Kirby is one of those characters that is different versions of that character have shown up in different places, but not necessarily as Kirby. So, he like there's a version of Slash that, looked like Kirby, right? There's a version of the character itself was going to show up in that fourth live action film that just didn't happen. So a character like that, who is a concept character, is that a character that could be approached? Again, that's another thing where it's like the what if, right? Is that something that is possible for there?
I guess it's possible.
All right. That's good for me. I'm liking that answer. This is coming from Gilgamesh H. Could you find out if they're going to do any more Puppet Master figures? And again, I don't know if this is your wheelhouse or not.
Sorry, Gilgamesh. I don't have any details about Puppet Master stuff.
Fenris from the TFW 2005 forum asks, I'd love to know if there's any possibility of a movie live action styled Krang, Bebop, or Rocksteady to go with the existing movie figures. It would be cool to see them come up with new looks for them in the movie aesthetic, or even just adapt the designs for those three from the newer movies. So I think they're saying in the Henson style. I mean, in theory, maybe it sounds like from what you were saying before, we could see something like that in the Universal Monsters line too, potentially.
I mean, that would be cool. I agree with them. Like, those would make cool figures.
Heck yeah. So that's it for the question section. With the party wagon coming soon here, probably soonish. Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, maybe soonish. Is there the possibility of seeing another vehicle or two in this coming year?
Yeah, I'd like to do another vehicle. Yeah, we'll see.
Would a version of it that we haven't had in toy form, that's more like toon accurate, be something that would take priority over something else potentially?
Like a comic or a movie vehicle or something?
Yeah, I mean, for instance, like the Turtle Blimp or Knucklehead, right?
Super Knucklehead.
Yeah, right. I mean, these are versions that how they appeared in the cartoon are very different than what we had as toys. So I know you have an affinity for the Blimp in particular. From
One's cool, yeah. And that's kind of an easy one, easier maybe to make because it's so much of it is just making a big balloon or something. Yeah, I'd like to do another vehicle, man. Even like if we did the van from like the movie, and we could do like Mario's diaper service, and have the Foot Clan ride around with Danny.
Yeah.
You do like April's van and then like the diaper van. That would be cool. Yeah, I'd like to do another vehicle.
And I guess technically the scooter counts as a vehicle. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, we're already doing another vehicle. Yeah, that's all brand new.
This is a blast. I always appreciate getting to chat with you and just, we're talking turtles and stuff, but it's also just geeking out with a fellow for dork like me. So this is great. Yeah. It's fun as always, man. It was a great time talking.
Cool. Yeah, thanks again for having me.
We realize you could have been anywhere and you chose to nerd out with us, and we appreciate that. While you're here, make sure to check out some of our other really cool videos we think that you'll appreciate quite a bit. And if you haven't already, make sure to sub, like, and share with any other folks you think will appreciate the kind of videos we're putting out. So, until next week, Turtle Speaky,
keep it geeky.